I don't think I've had a mentor in the direct sense of the word, meaning somebody that I've known in person who's imbued on me some of these essential life lessons. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is that of my father, and probably the same to you. But through the wondrous world of the internet and the technological era that we are, now in the midst of, I thought I would compile a list of 10 lessons that I have gleaned from some of the people that I would call mentors in the world today that have greatly influenced my psychology, my perspective, and the paradigm shifting way that I view and articulate myself through the world. So I wanted to take some time to share them today and get your thoughts on it, and if you'd had this lesson before. So I'm going to start off with number one, and that is: a masculine man understands dualism or duality, right? This essentially means is that there is no right in the world technically, right? Now you have to view this from a spiritual context, meaning that there are problems in the world. I often talk about the problem of pornography, or the problem of ideological rhetoric, right? The problem of victim mentality, and how the world would be a much better place without those things, right? Of course, you would agree, or maybe you wouldn't agree. But there is no reality in which we're free from problems. You only trade your low quality problems for higher quality problems, meaning there is always going to be something that is preventing us from getting to the perfect utopia. So the perfect utopia does not exist. There is always a light and there is always a dark. That is the 3D realm that we live on. As long as you exist on Earth in this meat suit, that is going to be a constant flux of energies that you just can't get away from. Even when you're trying to get out your 9 to 5, get a girlfriend, or have more money in the bank, there is always going to be another problem. It never ends. So you have to actually accept the reality that everything's perfect, which is really difficult to do. Everything is perfect. It is wonderful that we have these problems because we get to enjoy the process of eliminating them. And that's actually the peace in it. It's a very, very spiritual concept, and I will concede I lose this idea more often than not, but it's so, so crucial that you understand as a man that there is no eliminating the problems in the world. There is only trading them for new ones, and that you need to be present and enjoy the process of that elimination, because that's where the true value comes. It's in the growing and acknowledging the oscillation between the light and the dark. The second one is to not underestimate the role religion will play in your life. And also to be careful that you don't drown in the ideological rhetoric of it. Now, if you would have met me 5 years ago, I would have been the hardest atheist you would have ever met. I would have told you God doesn't exist, that I believe in science, I believe in rationalization and logic and what I can see, touch, taste, smell, and all the other tangible ways of discerning what is real in reality. But what I've come to realize is that religion is an amalgamation of collective human consciousness, meaning irrespective if you're if you subscribe to Judaism or Hinduism or Jainism or Buddhism or any of the isms, is that the true value of these isms is in the continuity of human experiences in those stories. The reason why we find stories so compelling in books and movies is because of the moral values that we glean and remember and reconcile with, depending on who the protagonist is. And religion, I believe, is the finest and the grandest and the most highest form of that actualization of moral value. And I know it might sound trite and cliche to say, but if you are really struggling in your life, if you find that you have no direction, religion might just be the thing that you're missing, which will kind of align all the other pieces into that puzzle. So please do not underestimate the role of religion. But I have no ideology to press upon you. I really believe you can find some enormous utility in the Quran, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Holy Bible, the Kabbalah, whatever the case may be, is there's going to be value in there that I believe is going to be conducive to you living your best life. Number 3 is the psychological effect other people will have on you. So when you interface with other people, you may not know this, but they're having a very subtle impression on how you behave into the future. There's this trite saying that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that is not just a mental thing, but it's a psychic thing. You're beginning to absorb some of their ideas, values, and insights through osmosis just being in their environment. So it's really important that you are very specific with who you allow access to your time if you don't wish for them to impress upon their psychology on you. So, and this is something that I learned too late to my detriment. And I realized when I was 22, 23, 24, that I was not in a good place psychically. And I had to cut out some of the people in my life that were affecting me in this way that would be otherwise consistent of victim mentality. It's not a healthy way to live your life. Number 4 is being comfortable with being alone is a superpower in and of itself, especially if you are a man. I know there are many men watching this, but if you're a man and you're constantly you're scheduling all your free time to be with people, then I think that's a serious neurological problem and very, very neurotic, because you're not allowing yourself the time for self-discovery and also to actualize your goals, right? The most successful periods of my life have come when I've spent that time alone and used that time constructively. I believe there's a time and a place for socialization, of course. I believe it's probably towards the latter part of your life when the heavy lifting is done and you can meet all your lifestyle needs and put food on the table and have warm clothing and a nice bed to sleep in. But the quality and the what would you say, the time in which you actualize those things becomes far shorter the more and more comfortable you are with spending that time alone. And I think me as an introvert, I kind of have a natural proclivity towards that, but I really believe it's something undervalued and sometimes there's negative connotations attached to it, being alone. Number 5, understanding the differences between assets and liabilities. This is a very, very simple one, and it's all tied towards the idea that you should be spending the majority of your time trying to get assets in your youth. We talk about property, we talk about housing, we talk about perhaps stocks and other tangible assets that are going to accrue wealth over time. So even got a watch collection that, the market isn't doing very well at the moment, but the watch collection will become more bullish and will allow me to accrue wealth over time because it's has a certain kind of value attributed to it depending on where the market is at the current context. Liabilities are things that take away your wealth. There are interest-free arrangements, interest payments that you have to make on some of these kind of things, which are typically more flashy and let's say status-driven, especially cars. I think one of the decisions I'm most proud of myself for doing was not financing a car when I was younger, because that is one of the biggest liabilities there is. It is a money pit, and it will take far more away from you than will give you in your time with it, believe me. So understanding the difference between those two and investing in assets is probably one of the most important financial lessons that you can learn early. Number 6 is your hormone profile is everything optimizer. If you want to feel a tangible difference in your behavior, in your energy, in your temperament, nothing will give you the more bang for your buck than looking at your hormones and addressing them if they are insufficient, especially testosterone. Now, I've done a lot of videos on testosterone recently. Do watch them, do learn from them, do integrate them into your lifestyle, because you will see again a tangible difference between how you're approaching. Your mood as well will be significantly more improved when your hormone profile is healthy. And this is deeply linked with number 7, is how you think is deeply related to what you're eating and when you're eating. So everybody knows I'm a huge proponent of fasting. I believe that we are eating far too much, and that's having a catastrophic effect on our psychology and how we behave and how we repair and recover, especially due to long-term disease, but also the foods you are eating. Cut out the refined sugar and carbohydrates. Cut out all this soy and estrogen-fueled crap. Cut out the BPA, the plastic packaging and water bottles, and start to, use glass and water filters, because you are absorbing so much toxic material. You are starting to become as clogged as the drains that your water flows through every single day. And this is deeply integrated to your mood and how you think and how you're feeling. The Eastern population refers to your gut biome as your second brain. All of your serotonin, your positive feeling neurotransmitters are secreted in your gut biome. So if the gut's happy, you'll be happy. If it's unhappy, you will certainly be unhappy. 8, what you believe to happen will happen in reality. We have a self-fulfilling prophecy in the thoughts we think every single day. I like to say that we hold the pen to write our own stories day to day, and nowhere could that more be true and more, descriptive in Lao Tzu's, very, very famous quote, "Watch what you think, they become the words you say become the actions you make, the actions you make, the character, the destiny." Okay, you can reverse engineer destiny just by being mindful of what you're holding in your mind's eye in any and every given moment. I really, really believe that. Number 9 is being consistent with the boring fundamentals who put you in the 1%. When people think about the most successful people in the world, the Elon Musks, the Steve Jobs, the very, highbrow entrepreneurs, typically they have this idea that it's one very secular piece of information they have that is putting them ahead of everybody else. But rather it's just being consistent with what I call boring fundamentals. Is if you're sleeping good, if you're eating right, if you're going to the gym, if you're exercising, if your body's healthy, if you're being productive, if you're getting into states of flow, and you're doing that consistently, you will grow leaps and bounds over the competition. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. And finally, number 10 is being present with all you're doing and everything you are doing. Meaning and this is a nice little tie back to the first point, which is when you understand everything is perfect, you need to spend more time just being here now, right? Just being in your body, feeling the beating of your heart, the breath in your lungs, the weight of your limbs, and enjoying and indulging in every single moment that you have. It's a very, very spiritual concept, and it's congruent with some of the teachings like Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, and some other more contemporary thinkers. I think I would even include myself in that. But nothing could be more important than your holistic health and just being present at any and every given moment. So, gentlemen, I hope this was valuable. Like I say, these are just theories. Take what is valuable and discard which is not. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Take care.